Hello everyone, I am Pushpita Dey and you are watching Zee Business. UPI transactions and online banking have been the focus of the government and the Reserve Bank of India for the past few years. The volume of UPI transactions rose by more than 1.5 times between January 2022 and December 2022. With the launch of e-rupee making UPI accessible for cross-border transactions, people are hoping some major announcements from the Finance Ministry this time. To discuss what sort of digital banking initiatives we can expect from this budget, we have with us Mr. Pankaj Dedhia, Chief Business Officer of CCAvenue. Sir, welcome you to Zee Business. To start with the
Hi,
very
Pushpita.
basic questions,
Thank you.
what do you expect from this budget in terms of e-rupee and CBDC this time?
Right. Thanks a lot, Pushmita. I'm definitely very honored to be on this interview with you. Right. So, Pushmita, I think yes. Firstly, as we discussed earlier, earlier as well, that the RBI has really kind of promoted digital payments and in a big way in India as a country. Right. We are at least at a much more higher benchmark in compared to a lot of other countries in terms of digital payments and even real-time payments, right? Of course, UPI firstly has been definitely a big game changer, and next game changer is what we expect definitely CBDC to be. So, if you see, actually, UPI has been a form of payment, one of the form of payments where CBDC is actually a currency, right? So, and if you also see, there's been a huge growth in UPI transactions, which has been driven by almost all the fintechs in the country. So definitely, what we are looking forward from the RBI is, other than promoting CBDC as a use case, we are also looking forward to a lot of incentivization and awareness that should be coming from RBI, towards the use of digital payments of UPI and CBDC, etc. So, of course, even in the recent, like last week, you might have heard there has been a huge incentivization by the finance ministry of approximately 2,600 crores to incentivize the fintech industry. Where is the that's because the UPI RuPay for low value transactions have been nil MDR, and even across UPI RuPay the transactions have been nil MDR. There's been an incentivization. We expect that even for UPI, in the coming financial year, within the budget, we are expecting as an industry at least an 8,000 crore to give the digital push, not only to UPI and RuPay, which the fintech players have already done in all these years, but even to promote CBDC, in the coming financial year.
Got it. When we talk about CBDC and e-rupee and UPI, the recent reports also show the data actually shows there has been a growing number of online banking frauds happening after banking and UPI have been in use. How do you think the issue of online frauds can be addressed when this e-rupee and CBDC will be used on a full-fledged level among the masses?
Right. So see, we have to see digital payments have evolved over many years, over the past few years, right? Digital payments started from credit cards, it boiled down to net banking, prepaid wallets, etc., so on and so forth. And there is the journeys and the risk and the fraud experiences have evolved over a period of time. I'll just give you an example. Initially, credit cards used to be just credit card numbers and expiry dates. There were frauds happening. Then, CVV was introduced, yet fraud started again, and hence 3D Secure was implemented. RBI was the one of the first regulators, right, back in 2008 and 2009 to mandate 3D Secure. Right. Again, there have been many measures that have been taken by the Reserve Bank of India and the Finance Ministry to mitigate fraud. Right. Let's take an example of recent, in the last couple of months, you would have heard about tokenization, right? There was a spillage of card numbers, etc., that was happening, because of which tokenization pan India was made mandatory. RBI has also implemented card controls. We're one of the first countries to implement card controls, where on an issuer level, you can control the limits of your card. By default, your credit debit cards cannot be enabled for an online usage, for an e-com usage, for an international usage, etc., so on and so forth. So yes, with the amount of increase in digital payments, there has been a marginal increase in terms of frauds, but with time the Reserve Bank of India has set up all the regulatory requirements to control fraud. They have also set up an ODR, right, which is the online dispute mechanism, which is sent where the customers can immediately report frauds. One of the most important things that is important to mitigate fraud is customer awareness, and there is a lot of investments that is being done for customer awareness. You might have heard on radios, you might have got text messages time and again from the regulators, your banks, etc., that you don't have to compromise your OTP for UPI transactions, etc., so on and so forth. Plus, also to control the fraud, there are velocity checks that are implemented by the banks, by the respective payment service providers, the PSP applications, etc., which is there. So I think UPI is well under control. Yes, there are frauds. User awareness and will definitely help a lot. And CBDC is kind of pretty new at this point in time. So I think we will have to see and understand how it evolves. We are in the pilot stage as of now, but the user experience is really good. It's right. It's as simple as how you scan a QR today and pay online or offline. So I think, in my opinion, I think user awareness would be very, very important to mitigate frauds. And a lot of measures have already been taken. And as we evolve with time, more measures would be implemented.
Got that, sir. So with the E2P pilot project going on, what do you think could be the measures that need to be taken both by the government and the RBI to ensure, like, once the E2P is fully launched, the kind of changes platforms need to undergo or the security measures that we need to take?
See, the beauty of e-rupee, the way the transaction process is actually, like, it's very simple, right? The measures that most of the platforms, whether it is e-com platforms or payment service providers like us, right? It does not bring much of a bigger change, because from the acceptance and an experience point of view is as simple as how you scan an UPI QR. That's the beauty and the simplicity that has been kept in the integration, which is there. And even in terms of generating the acceptance, you might have already seen when the pilot has been done, some demo transactions on videos and various news channels, etc. Is just a QR placed. You open your app, you scan the QR, you select the denomination through which you have to pay, and the transaction is processed. It is as simple to how you are doing an UPI transaction today. And even for the online, right, it's as simple as just another form factor which is added. So you have credit cards, debit cards, net banking. You have a new option which is CBDC, right? The moment you click that, for the respective transaction amount, what for of what you are shopping, right, a QR opens up. You open your CBDC app and process the transaction, and the transaction is completed in real time, and the merchant is communicated of the transaction status. So I think, from the platform's perspective, on an integration point, it wouldn't be much of a challenge for the platforms to enable CBDC.
Okay, sir. So just to proceed with my next question, so we have the E2P pilot project going on right now. So do you expect that in this upcoming budget there will be some new provisions for the E2P coming up? Because the government also has the plan to launch E2P on a broader basis. So what kind of expectations do you have specifically in terms of E2P?
Uh, right. So yes, we do expect, but I'm not sure what to expect, because it's pretty new. It's only on the pilot stage. I think the wholesale implementation and the pilot has been really successful. Retail offline has really worked well, but it's still in a closed user group. We are also piloting, and we are one of the players which we are working with our partner banks to enable for the online e-com merchants as well. We have done a couple of successful transactions and pilots on some merchants. So, and of course, I think there are many more use cases which the RBI is planning. If you've read yesterday, in terms of cross-border settlements, etc., so on and so forth. So, I think we are just waiting to hear back from RBI as to what the future steps are, and when we can really go with masses with the CBDC.
Too long. I'm just heading towards your the last question. So I won't take too long. I'm just like going towards my last question, and my last question to you is: so we have seen that UPI has come a long way since it was introduced in India, but do you think there are still certain areas that needs to be addressed before we can take it to the next level, or what are the areas that could be addressed by the government and the RBI before we plan to take it to the next level? For example, we have cross-border UPI transaction now, and but we may expect something more through UPI. So, what according to you are those areas?
Right, of course, Pushmita, I think UPI has seen a massive growth even in the month of December, right? If you see, we have processed like one of the highest record transactions in UPI. And of course, yes, international payments are coming. So we have, I guess, done almost around 7.82 billion transactions in the month of December, worth around 12.8 lakh crores, which is like a huge volume of transactions. International expansion of UPI and acceptance definitely opens up a big avenue, right? Because we are one of the largest countries in terms of foreign inward remittances, and if you are able to enable UPI to make payments and settlements to a huge NRI diaspora, which you have, the NRI population across the globe, then definitely it opens up, a huge opportunity. And of course, as you said, that there are many more avenues which can be explored, right? UPI, let's take an example. Initially, when UPI was launched, everybody was an opinion, this is of an opinion that this is just another form factor which will debit your bank account. But no, that's not the case. Today it's almost impossible for everybody to live without UPI. You just kind of probably make 10 transactions a day using UPI. Then of course it has evolved to your so many financial transactions that you do. It has evolved to UPI standing instructions. Then, of course, if in the recent times you have heard that RBI has also enabled UPI, and NPC has also enabled UPI for multiple debits on a single transaction. Also, one of the best use cases is where you can do your IPO applications through UPI, where I guess almost more than 45 to 50% of IPO applications are now coming through UPI, UPI mandates. And the recent news, which was just there yesterday and day before, is that now the next level, which the ministry is also planning to take UPI, is where you can just hold funds into your trading from your trading account and debit only when your shares are allotted. So the way you today do probably a financial transaction while buying stocks is like you have to fund in into your your broker's bank account, and then you buy shares. Instead of that, you just go with a blocking of amount and you don't have to actually transfer the funds. So use cases are definitely evolving a lot, right? It's just not person to person or person to merchant payments which we are doing. There are a lot many use cases which will come across. And not only UPI, which is a form factor, I'm sure there are many use cases which will also come for CBDC, which is actually a currency which is getting transferred. So we'll just wait to hear back as to what are more use cases that can come up.
So, my next question to you is like there has been a lot of speculations among masses regarding a UPI transaction fees. Often, the people have said like they fear that in near future we can have a UPI transaction fees coming up. Do you think government is likely to introduce any such transaction fees for either UPI or CBDC or e-rupee in the coming months or in the coming years?
Yes, there has been a lot of speculations about it, that there might be charges, etc. But in my personal opinion, I think the finance ministry or the RBI doesn't plan to have charges, right? Any which ways, I think even when you pay online or offline today as a customer, most of the charges are actually borne by the merchant and not the user. So probably even if there might be any charges that might be implemented, it is usually borne by the merchants. But given the way the transactions are growing and RBI plans and the ministry plans to boost digital payment systems, and CBDC being pretty new, we're in the pilot stage itself. I don't foresee that there might be any fees as such, but I'm sure we expect, as I already mentioned, to have incentivizations from the ministry and the RBI, because whatever incentivizations have been given I know in line of the past 15 to 1600 crores or the license that have been allowed have gone to the banks. From the banks, it has not reached the payment aggregators like us, right? So there is a lot of infrastructure and development and support services that go into powering the humongous volumes that have been processed for UPI. So I'm not sure on the price perspective or the cost. I think there may not be a cost that might be imposed, but definitely our expectation is that the finance ministry in the budget announces a better incentive program and ensures that it reaches to the last mile service providers like the payment aggregators who are enabling and enabling these sort of huge volumes of UPI and other digital payment modes.
Got it, sir. So these are the questions I have. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your insightful views. I'm pretty sure our viewers have like gained a lot of inputs on the same on UPI and the upcoming ERP project that is going on. I mean, the ERP once it's launched on a mass scale level.